Questions for Joe?
Joe, you've been big on these guys, Peyton, Sam, Luke, the bench unit throughout the year. Obviously, they showed well all season. You've been big on we're going to need to go these guys in the playoffs. What's that transition going to be like for those guys, from some of these bigger minute games late in the year to, potentially, smaller roles in the playoffs where you just have to make the most of those minutes?
They've done pretty much everything throughout. So they've started games, they've not played, they've played. So one of the reasons why they're effective is they don't really care about what the situation is. They understand how to impact the game in different ways, and so it won't be an adjustment for them. And I think our depth is a key and a strength of ours heading into the playoffs. So we just have to be ready to utilize that.
What have you learned about putting those guys in the best position to succeed? I know you give a lot of the credit to them and their readiness, but in terms of, putting them in spots and rotations or just sort of like, how you utilize that bench, what's allowed them, from your perspective, to kind of have some of that success consistently this year?
I think just they know what their role is. They know how to play the game. They know how to impact the game, and they're not defined by one thing. So they take just as much pride in their defense as they do in their offense. And so they're well coached by the player development staff. Great complementary pieces to the team, but at the same time, they know they can impact the game in different ways. And so as long as you play with that open mind, and they play with a high level of physicality and attention to detail, all those guys do. So it's good.
Joe, what happened to Xavier, and how is he doing?
I think he just tweaked his ankle. He's doing pretty well.
He's okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, your goals are ahead of you still, and the most important part is to come. But is it important at all to kind of step back in this moment and appreciate what you guys accomplished? 64 wins. Not a lot of teams have done that. The work it took to get to this point as well.
Yeah, in order to, you have to appreciate that. You just can't. Like I said, winning can be just as dangerous as losing. So if you hang on to a loss, it could kill you. If you hang on to a win, it could kill you. So it's important to take it for what it is, have an appreciation of it, focus on the relationships and the things that we were able to build this season, and take that into the playoffs. So I think both things are important. So it's not a matter of appreciating. It's just a matter of you can't hang on to it for too long. So, but it's definitely something that you want to be grateful for.
Joe, how nice was it to see Svi close out the season with a game like that, and what can you say about his mindset and work ethic throughout the season?
When we asked Svi to come here, one of the things I told him was, it's going to be inconsistent at times, but because of how we play, we're going to rely on you guys to win us games. And so the things you do daily are important, and he bought into that, and that was great. Playing against Charlotte the other night in the middle of the game, Cliff had a great compliment for him as well. So Svi's an NBA player. He's done a lot of great things for us, and I love his work ethic on a daily basis, and he helped us win games this year. That's important.
Joe, last year throughout the regular season, there was a lot of pressure, uncertainty, stuff like that. This year, it's been pretty much smooth sailing the entire year as far as your performance. Have you in particular as a team, felt any of that pressure in the regular season?
It's going to be pressure every year, no matter where you coach. So I don't know, feeling it or whatever, but when I wake up every day, everybody in the locker room wants to be the absolute best, so that will always be there. It'll be there next year. It'll be there the year after. Whether we win or lose, it'll be there. If we win 4 in a row, it'll be there. It doesn't matter. So I know that's a huge trigger point to create like a narrative or like a high level of anxiety or like a something to do. But there's always going to be pressure. That's just how it works. It'll never go away, no matter what you do. And so it's important to understand that.
So walking into the playoffs, does this team feel like a certainty about who they are, how they want to play, what they expect?
Absolutely. I think there's a clear identity for that. Know exactly who we are on both sides of the ball. Also know we have the depth and the open-mindedness to adapt when necessary. So most important thing heading into a situation is having no expectations. It's not supposed to go a certain way. If you study teams that have even been fortunate enough, if we're fortunate enough to even get to a finals, if not win it, the road there is always forgotten by the result of winning. And so it looks different every single year. There's teams that have had multiple Game 7s. There's a team that's only lost one game. There's a team that's had to come down from 3-2, had to go home for Game 7. It just doesn't matter. So I know those things will be utilized to create narratives, but at the end of the day, there's no expectations heading in. It takes what it takes, however long it takes. That's what we have to be able to go through, and we just have to have that expectation is that it takes what it takes.
It seemed at the end there you were encouraging Jared Butler to shoot. Was that in an effort to maybe get him to miss and Pritchard get that rebound for his triple-double?
His coach told him to go, and so I just was reiterating what his coach said.
We talked last game about Jermaine getting that back of bench.
Yeah.
Today was Phil.
Yeah.
What kind of work, you mentioned they have like a thankless job. What
Yeah.
kind of work do they do? And what does it mean to give a guy a spot on that bench for an NBA game?
So they do a lot with the assistants as far as getting the games ready for our next opponent. So they very rarely are able to live in the present because they're always living for the next game to help us get games downloaded. And so even sometimes during our game, they're watching another game to have it ready. And so they are the first piece to our scouting and our game plan execution. So that's why they're very, very important. And I wasn't fortunate enough to have that position, but my first year I was in the same room as the guys that had that job, and that's where I really learned the league. The vocab, the language, situational basketball, all that stuff. You're seeing it from a different perspective. So I'm actually kind of jealous of them because I think they have the best job in the long term of their career. But it's great to have them.
Jordan got his first start today. What went into that, and what have you liked most about his development this season?
Understanding that defense is the most important thing, and it doesn't matter what you do. Like, he only took 2 shots tonight, but I thought he impacted the game defensively, and that's what a role player has to be able to do. You never know if you're going to start, if you're going to come off the bench, if you're going to even touch the ball. You may not touch it, but it's your job to go find it. And so I think just his understanding of what NBA defense is, I've seen a huge growth in that, and I think that's important.